Hey everyone, this is Darth CJ from Midnight Launch. We're here talking about failed consoles and hardware developments in the history of gaming. We sort of bandied this one about and realized that really there's been a lot of failures out there, so we want to tackle them. For me, Sega really takes the gold medal in this one because they had the Dreamcast, which was their most recent failure, and it was actually a decent console. But they didn't have any money to market it or get any publishing by then. They were bleeding dry.
Yeah. The Saturn.
Oh, the Saturn.
Yeah.
Saturn, CD, and X32, were those three, who in their product development team, said, you know what, guys, we're just going to take another kick at the console development next year. So that one didn't work, but we're really going to push for another one. You can't do that.
Yeah.
They had a lot of problems in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. I mean, even the peripherals were garbage. Did anyone ever see the Menacer?
The Menacer? That sounds like something I'd see at a sex show.
May as well be. I mean, it came out for the Genesis, and it was a light gun that kind of looked like a space-aged rifle, but instead of a scope, it had binoculars on it. So you put both eyes up to it and shoot. They must not have given a shit to who they gave that division to, during that time period.
Is this the same people that for the Super Nintendo
made that
Scope 6? Made the rocket launcher that you mount on your shoulder?
You could never get that fucker to calibrate. Yeah. You would I would line that thing up like nobody's business. And then you'd shoot something, it would shoot 5 feet off to the right. And this when you had a 22-inch TV in your household, right? You couldn't make those sort of mistakes.
Yeah.
But I never heard of the Menacer.
No.
Yeah, it's even worse than the Super Scope, if that's at all possible. You hardly ever see it because no one bought it. Could not get anything right for, 10, 15 years?
Oh, and that was their death blow. They eventually got behind.
And then they had the Game Gear as well, right? Awesome idea. The thought behind it was great. The execution was piss poor.
You had to carry an ammo belt with double A's.
It was 6 or 8 double A's to power the thing.
Yeah. So my buddy had one. I thought it was super cool to color. And we talked about this earlier. I don't know if it was an abominable failure or if it was Sega couldn't get the rights to good games. Because back then it was sort of the Holy Trinity. It was Mario, Metroid, and Zelda. Game Boy had that, and they made special games for it. Sega never had that franchise.
Well, I mean, they had Sonic. Sonic was
the redheaded stepchild of Mario. Okay, if you played Sonic, it was because your Nintendo was broken.
Or you had bad parents.
Yeah, exactly. Your parents I got you Lee Trevino's call, and you're I'm going to kill myself. But Game Gear wasn't that horrible, and Nintendo hasn't been absolved of this either.
No.
Well, but the Game Gear did also have some cool ideas. They had instead of you putting in a cartridge, it was like a TV tuner. It was an airwave tuner that you would plug into it. And it was basically, it would pick up TV signals.
Oh, yeah, OTA?
Yeah, pretty much. And it was just basically a cartridge that you would plug into it that had an antenna on it.
You could still only watch for 20 minutes, but
exactly.
Battery issues. But I mean,
it was
neat. Being colored too.
Yeah, and being backlit.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before we started this, I had a Game Gear and I had a Game Boy, and when we went on road trips or any kind of trips, it was the Game Boy was played until either the batteries ran dry or it got dark enough out that I couldn't see it, and then I pulled out the Game Boy because it was backlit and I could still play in, the back seat of the van.
Yeah. But Nintendo, a couple failures on their part, and I'll start with the easier one. The Power Glove. So, everyone, if you haven't seen the movie The Wizard, boy, do you need to, because it's a cinematic masterpiece. But they came out with this glove, and then they didn't make any games for it. They didn't do any development with it, but they sold the shit out of it in marketing. So you're what do you do with this glove?
It's like they made it before they thought about what they would use it for. It was just oh, cool, we can put a bunch of sensors that sort of kind of do something on a slimy glove and give it to kids, and they'll think it's great as they try to play punch out by just punching the air repeatedly from one hand.
And even worse was the buttons on top. Like, oh no, you can play any game with it. I'm like, yeah, I can play any game if I can move the directional arrow with my thumb and jump with my right. That's what I love about the original Nintendo controller. You have 50-50 odds as to what button to push, A or B. But
and you could duct tape it to your wrist and still get the same effect of power.
Just about the same motion.
Yeah.
And then their ultimate failure, which was the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
Like that, what research group do you go to and say, okay, guys, bright red lights? How do you feel about that? Just for hours
everywhere.
Wait, what? Yeah, no, bright, and we're gonna make it dark, so the lights are gonna burn your retinas. Even I don't know, is this laser eye surgery? No, we're gonna have a tennis game.
Well, and even worse was you have to put it onto a stand or a table and then lean forward into it. Because if you didn't, then you wouldn't be able to see anything.
Oh yeah, I worked at a company called Blockbuster. Depending on how long these podcasts are airing for, people may not know what that is. But we had a Virtual Boy that we were selling, and I found out I bought it for like $50. Like it was found in the back, and I was like, yeah, I'll totally take this. So I bought like a Virtual Boy and all the games. I played it for 5 minutes, and I was like, this is a crime against humanity. But Nintendo managed to avoid most of the hardware errors.
Up until now, the Wii U.
Oh, Wii U is
so hard.
But they didn't do anything with it. What was their end game with that?
I think I like the idea of, a kid sitting there playing their game, mom or dad comes over and says, "Get the fuck out of here, it's my TV." And they can...
What sort of childhood did you have? Holy crap.
But
mom's boiling crack in the kitchen, and daddy's feeding me cardboard.
Yeah. But I like the idea that you could hit a button, it switches to the gamepad, and you can keep playing it. Like, the idea is neat.
But like for DRM, put it on your phone or something.
Yeah.
I don't see it. What their model was with this. With the Wii, it was brilliant. I shit on them for the Wii, but it was brilliant. They said, let's get a whole bunch of people who haven't gamed before.
Yeah.
But this one, what do you go after? You're not going after hardcore gamers because it's too cartoony and bulky and kitschy. Your processor isn't that fast. From a hardware standpoint, it's inferior to probably even the 360 or the PS4. So what are you going after? Like the ability for your cracked out mother to watch her stories?
Like, and I loved the whole premise of like the pad itself when you're not using it as a regular game where it interact differently, Like they showed all these videos of you're throwing ninja stars everywhere.
Yeah.
Like those were the commercials.
Lightning bolt.
All the times I wish I could throw ninja stars in games. Like I want that in every game, right? So that's a perfect
Kirby's Dreamland. Yeah. Kirby's dead, motherfucker. But even the big two aren't absolved of hardware issues.
The 360 at launch, like Red Ring of Death.
Yeah, Red Ring of Death. Mine never Red Ringed for like 5 years. Yeah. My launch one, but they banked on the wrong high def disc system, and I wonder how many millions that cost them. HD DVD, I don't think is going to catch Blu-ray anymore.
No. Really?
I have one of those drives at home too.
Do you? Did you buy it?
I bought it cheap.
Okay.
I bought it when HD DVDs were like $5.
Okay.
The fact that Microsoft won't even support the drive anymore and wrote it out of their firmware is the final as far as that goes.
But I love how you can still, if you want to find like these obscure movies or whatnot that came out during that time, you can find them, but you get these big warnings like only on HD DVD.
Never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And then Xbox Original with their controller that if someone ever broke in, you could swing around your head and take them out like a fucking Lord of the Rings
scene.
The
Morningstar design.
Yeah. And they still stand behind that. Their senior manager of product development, I was reading an interview with him, he's like, you know how much research we did, and that was ergonomical, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who did you research? People with no hands? Like that thing, you would hold like you were hugging a fat child. Yeah. Like, it was...
I kind of liked it. I don't know.
It's not preference. The worst controller that ever came out, but...
I'd rather use it than a PlayStation 3 controller.
Oh, exactly. Yes. PlayStation 3, I feel like you're holding. You ever see Scary Movie? You want some more potatoes? Yeah. Your hands are gibbled. But yeah.
But and to make it even worse with the PlayStation 4, now they put a touchpad dead center, so they're making it even wider.
Oh, really?
From what I've seen, yeah. So there's a touchpad dead center on it. And I think they're taking that from the Vita, because the Vita did something similar, talking about another failed system.
Well, the
It's
Vita, yeah.
well on its way to
Which
being
we were
a failed
talking about.
system.
They keep pouring money into that. Like, I would love to be the VP of that division, because they are getting like a dump truck full of money every couple of years backed up. Like, go pitch this, compete with Game Boy. We can't, sir. Go compete with Game Boy.
Well, I mean, leave it to Sony to at least back the dead friggin' horse they put out on the track. They're gonna make sure it goes across the finish line, and PSP was the same way.
But the PSP was a better system.
Yeah,
a lot more games for it. And I think that's kind of like the
failed, though. It was a failure, dude.
Well,
they tried for years to get that to catch on, and I mean, it did to a certain degree, and it isn't better than the Vita, but...
God, yes. I mean, I think the big thing for me is that the PSP had games coming out for it. The PS Vita, it's so painful seeing how slow these games come out. Like, I bought one a year ago and got, the Black Ops game on it, and I looked to see what other games were out, and there were like, I don't know, 6 or 7 other games, and the Vita had already been out for a year.
Yeah, but
holy shit, guys.
I think that's them saying, like, okay, we've already got sunk cost on this. How can we, like, not invest any money, have one developer in his basement porting over games? Like, that's really what it is.
I mean, the only good thing about the Vita was the whole, if you got the PlayStation Plus or whatever, you could download games to it. It was basically when, like Xbox Gold.
Okay.
Same idea, and they would give you certain games for free on it, and it would cross over to the PlayStation 3 as well. But, I mean, that kind of defeated the whole purpose of me having the PlayStation, because I had the PlayStation and played with it online solely because I didn't need to have a subscription. The few minimal times I played online with it.
Were there any failures on the N64?
You mean its controller?
The whole system?
I like the controller. Everyone shit on the controller.
Really?
Shut up. I love that controller.
Did you have a third hand when you
No, because it never used it. Like, you normally were middle and right. I don't know why everyone hated on that. I like that controller.
I would like the controller more if I didn't burn the analog stick out within like a month.
Yeah, see, that wasn't the best part. Like, I never burned mine out. And so I enjoyed the 64 and then the GameCube. Their controller was weird.
I liked it.
It worked.
It felt good. And it was comfy to hold.
Yeah.
And as weird as that sounds, like back in the day, that was a non-issue.
That's why I thought the N64 controller was good, because like if you make anatomical position and then you put your hands together, it was good.
If you have to pre-set up your hands to hold on to
it was good. It was good.
Yeah, like I didn't dislike those controllers for being unorthodox. It was the quality, like mainly the N64 one. And I mean, I think even the N64 as a system, I think the big misstep with that one is, did you ever have any of the games with the expansion pack? The memory booster pack that you had to add to that.
Oh yeah, the middle of it. Yeah, I totally did. Yeah, where you had to pop the middle of that console.
Yeah, which totally like split the audience for it, and there's all these decent games that came out that might have made the system last longer, but
that system was epic, dude. Hold on, it had probably the best legs of any system in my opinion of all time, like other than the first ones. It had GoldenEye, which carried it for how long? It had Ocarina. It had even, by the way, Perfect Dark, which was a fantastic game.
That was an expansion pack one, yeah.
Was it? Okay, that was an expansion pack one. But like, if we look through the list, N64, it really made them a shit ton of money, dude.
Oh yeah, it's certainly not saying that it was not a profitable system. It was just, it was the controller that I wanted to throw through the window.
Yeah,
it had legs, is what I'm saying.
I liked my PlayStation better back then.
Did you?
I had them both. I played both. Quality over quantity, N64 had it, but I think it just got...
Yeah, but hold on, PlayStation, you had those crappy little proprietary memory sticks that you had to put in that would save like half a game.
Yeah,
like if the N64 one didn't have a built-in memory pack, you had to jam that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It was built in.
But I mean, like even when you moved past the N64, you still weren't away from those memory cards. The GameCube still, you had to buy those little memory cards.
I never did.
Oh, really? No, I did. The only bad thing I could ever say about the GameCube was colors everywhere and different colors. Like that controller looked like a piñata. There were so many different goddamn colors all over that.
Oh yeah, hardware wise, yeah. I mean, we used to smoke tobacco, and I remember playing that console and like the colors on the controller, the colors on the screen. There is nothing black and white about the GameCube, but that's a whole other podcast. Yeah. So let us know what you think about the shittiest hardware of all time. We'll probably do one on PCs and worst ideas ever in the history of computers sometime. So don't throw in things like, I don't know, what were some of the worst ideas? The computer that would overheat and cause fire. But let us know what you think about consoles and post on our Facebook.